But everybody just kind of quit talking about her. And it was just like, sweet little Letha, beautiful child, just lovable, loved her to death. And, she's just gone and nobody don't ever really know what else. So.
Yeah, she loved my mom. I know she loved my mom, man. I mean, they were close, and it was always Aunt Beverly this and Aunt Beverly that, and Aunt Beverly's my mama, and
Warning: the podcast you're about to listen to may contain graphic descriptions of violent assaults, murder, and adult language. Listener discretion is advised. Who Killed Letha? With Beverly, Gumm, and Patches Rutherford, Part 2 of 2.
Looking all around where she lived, like I say, they live kind of in the woods, all back down through the trees and just everywhere, and they couldn't find anything.
Yeah, like my dad, my cousins, they walked all around down in the woods looking for her. Went around and asked people, everybody that they thought that, she might know, or anybody that she was friends with, her friends. I mean, like everybody looked, because everybody liked her. I mean, she had literally zero enemies. Everybody loved her.
So I guess you all were just kind of like, it's been nearly 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
We just aren't going to find her.
Yeah. Right. And then I think, we all think she was moved. We think she was somewhere. Even the police said that when they found her, it looked like she was kind of like in a fetal position, like she'd been either in a trunk of a car or something, humped up. Mm. And they had moved her and put her underneath a big pile of tin garbage. Do you take me back to that day when she was found? Who contacted you all to say, we have finally found her? Was it the police? No, it was a family member. I think it was her mom that called me and said they found Letha. And I was like, where? And it's behind their house. Right behind their house. Which seemed odd if everybody had been looking. Yeah, that's what I think. She had been moved because she hadn't been there before, because all those dogs would have found her. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, where? She's over here. They're over here getting her out now. So I went over there, and it was horrible. I mean,
it was horrible.
Sitting there waiting for them to get her out. And of course, she had to get a closer look, and I didn't. She went on up, and it bothered her bad after she went all the way up and actually saw her, because, she'd been decaying for 4 months. It wasn't a very pretty sight. No. So you actually, Patches, you saw her.
Mm-hmm. I climbed the fence and looked.
Yeah, the police had it marked off. Wouldn't let nobody go down there.
And there was like a wire fence.
And she went around kind of and just went over there and looked. And she said she could tell it was her because she had on a nightgown that she knew that belonged to her. Oh. So she had, obviously she didn't just get home from tobacco. She had probably gotten ready for bed. And was ready to bed down for the night. She had to work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So did they say, I'm so at a loss for words here. Did they say how she was just mysteriously found? Who went looking and just mysteriously found her? How did that come to be? Somebody's just walking. It's springtime. Were they picking berries? What are you doing out there looking? Is what I'm wondering. Her cousin was riding a moped or something.
I think it was a four-wheeler.
Four-wheeler. Mm-hmm. And was it?
It was his dog. It was actually his dog that found her. Yeah, he was just out riding his four-wheeler around, and his dog found her.
Saw a part of her hand or something sticking out or something.
I think he said a foot. I don't remember now. It's been a long time.
So just out there riding because it's in the country and it's wooded.
Yeah, and that's what we all did out there anyways. It's horses or four-wheelers or whatever. When you live in the country, you got access to trees and trails and you use them. He was just out on his four-wheeler.
And then he spotted her, or the dog found her.
He said his dog got over in it's like I don't want to say trash pile. It was more,
tin and wood.
And wood and
just stuff where you throw something.
Farm equipment or, it was just like a hauler that you throw your crap in.
Yeah.
Because you don't haul that stuff to town and put it in the dump. And so his dog wouldn't come back. And so when he kept calling his dog was over there digging around. And when he went over there, he found her.
Wow. So I guess this person called the police and said, we found her.
I'm not sure if they contacted the police themselves or if another family member did. I don't remember. They may have called maybe, a parent or somebody. Mm-hmm. But I just know that, he was, a family member found her.
Wow. And like I said, it makes you wonder, how did all these people look here for so long? Probably walked right past that spot.
Mm-hmm. We had several family members that said they actually stood on the very tin pile that they found her in. And they
with dogs.
With the dogs, when the police dogs went up there and there was nothing.
So yeah, it makes you wonder, was she indeed
moved,
placed there?
That's,
Because these canines are trained to find people, especially that are already deceased. And so how would a canine not spot that, or people, if you said a foot sticking out? Yeah. I mean, granted, I know it's December, but here in Kentucky, we might have snow. We might have 80 degrees in December. Who knows? Yeah. So it just makes you wonder if that foot was spotted then, how was it not spotted back then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like you say, even in December, if she was there, I think those dogs would have known it. Mm-hmm. But she wasn't there, I don't think. I think they moved her. And even, I think that police kind of thought she'd been moved.
Wow. So at that point, what happened? They, I guess, get her and maybe take her for an autopsy to see if they can determine a cause of death. And she had been stabbed to death.
I think she was autopsied a couple of times before they actually determined.
They actually buried her and then resumed her body. Yeah. After they buried her, it's a couple years later, they resumed her body and looked for more evidence. And
what do you think they did that for? Just to see if there was an additional cause of death, or just strictly for more evidence?
I guess. I mean,
yeah, I think it had kind of become a cold case, and then there was little attention to it, and somebody had picked it back up, and I don't think like the first autopsy revealed a lot of information, and so they had decided to autopsy her again, and so, just to kind of get like maybe a better picture of, what had happened. Mm-hmm. And that second autopsy, I believe, is when they determined that there were I think they said there were like knife marks or something on her bones. So,
and they kind of said that everyone who had stabbed her had done it from behind, like they'd come up behind her.
Oh, wow.
And they found the knife. And I think
they did?
Yeah, and I think it was her knife.
The one that was missing out of her purse. Mm-hmm. Where was the knife found?
I can't really remember where they said they found it. Was it in the house or was it?
I think they found the knife. Somewhere? I don't remember. I know they found it on the property, but I don't remember if it was in the house or outside. Yeah. But they did find the knife on the property.
Had there been signs in the house of any trauma or signs of a struggle or blood?
They wouldn't let us go in the room where she had slept and stayed. They had it off with those yellow ribbons they used.
They kept it sealed off.
They kept it.
So when they took it down, did her brother say that room was a mess?
I don't think that he never said anything really about the room.
I don't think there was any evidence.
I don't think there was any evidence in the room the room. I don't ever remember anybody saying that the room had been disturbed. Mm-mm.
I'm just wondering where the stabbing took place, if there was evidence of that, or maybe she was taken off the property. But then you're saying if the knife was on the property, did they bring the knife back? There's so many unanswered questions.
Yeah, I think they did it in the house.
In the house.
And maybe cleaned up or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
So I guess her family, and we've talked to one of her friends, I guess the friend certainly had an idea. I'm wondering, does the family, without calling names, have you all, put your heads together and kind of come up with, we think this is what happened, or we think this is who did it?
Of course.
Yeah, we kind of have.
And everybody kind of has the same general idea of the person.
I think so.
Of course, you have no proof.
Right.
So, what's anything without proof?
That's right. It's nothing.
There's, little things that have, like hindsight is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the day, so she would have been missing. That would have been her first day missing. Obviously, we didn't know she was missing yet. I had went to the house with my dad. They were all chicken fighters. That's what they did. That was their pastime. And when me and Dad got there, and I don't even remember why we went. It might have been to cut more wood. Probably cut more wood. But I went up there with my dad, and there was a couple of guys there, and there was a barrel out in the yard in the front. It's the backyard, but it was kind of like the front yard because that was all the door. We used their back door like a front door, so technically it would have been the backyard. There was a big barrel there, and it was full of like bloody sheets. And I looked over and I said, "Man, y'all been trimming chickens?" Because that's what chicken fighters do when their stags get up to a certain age. They cut their comb off and all the little hangly bits that other roosters can grab onto. And I said, "Y'all been cutting chickens?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh." And me and my dad just went on about our day. Nothing, never thought a thing about it. Not a thing.
Wow. Now, do you know if her bed sheet was missing off of her bed?
We don't know. We don't know. Those are details we don't know. And like I said, at the time, it never even occurred to me that those sheets could be for anything other than trimming roosters. Right.
Because that's what they did when they reached a certain age.
Yeah.
Now, the person that you all kind of have in your mind, when you said, were you all trimming those stags, was that person there?
Yeah.
And that person would often trim also? So it wouldn't have been odd that person
No. It wasn't odd. It wasn't odd that, if they were trimming roosters that day, it wouldn't have been.
No, I mean that person was there trimming.
It would not have been odd. He was there a lot.
Wow. Did Letha ever give you any indication through your all's talking, or since you were like a mom and you were like a sister, did she ever give you any inkling that that person kind of just made her have the heebie-jeebies kind of?
Yeah, she did.
Just kind of creeped her out.
So you mentioned that you had, looking back, that the sheet was like, now that means something, which who knew if the police, maybe they burned the sheet before the police could investigate.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure as soon as we left, that's what happened. But.
Because you noticed it. So what other signs were there that you thought, now that makes sense?
Just minor details like, her brother telling my mom that, the door was open and the only thing missing was her knife out of her purse and all her stuff was there. And just like the people that went to pick her up saying that the door was open a couple of inches, just kind of things like that. And then, my mom has like firsthand accounts of people that have told her stuff that would be hearsay for me. So, just again, the people that kind of were coming and going after her dad died, the things that were happening that wouldn't have happened when he was there. And it was just like once you step back and you start looking at the big picture of, the people that were there and kind of how their life has went and the direction their life has went after in the years, we all grew up. Most of us grew up, got jobs, got careers, so, and the person that she was the most afraid of, their life did not go in that kind of a direction.
Now, Beverly, Pat just said that you have some things that, I guess feelings are things that you've been told. Is there anything, without revealing names, that you can share or that you feel comfortable sharing that maybe?
Well, like I say, the person that told me some stuff was, of course, for me, it's just what she said. And because I have no way to prove that what she said was true, but it added up, what she told me. And I said, well, did you tell the police this? And she said, yeah. She said, but they don't really count her word as being. So the person who had came to you, her story with regard to the police just wasn't really credible because of who she was. Yeah. And they just didn't take her serious enough. Because I said, well, why didn't you report that? Well, I did. They just didn't believe me.
Did you?
They said it wouldn't stand up in court. I did about some of the things that she said.
Yeah. Like, how would she have known, maybe?
Yeah. And I think, too, what they thought is if this comes to trial and they can't prove nothing, then it's done.
Right.
So I didn't think they felt like that they could probably prove that she was telling the truth.
So that was kind of something else to set in the back of your mind for all these years, like you kind of know, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I guess years passed and everybody grew up and moved on and nothing ever became of it.
Because they would look, and then she had another aunt that was my husband's sister. Her name was Mary. Of course, she's dead now. But she would really try to call the police and try to find out if there's any new leads and all, and it just never went nowhere. It's like it kind of got to just be a dead end, and nobody looked anymore. So, and she's been gone, 32 years, I guess?
Something about like that, yeah.
Yeah, because she went missing like December of 91, and then we found her in April of 92. So it's been 33 years or something like that. 32 years or whatever.
So do you all still keep in touch with her brother or her mom?
I see him every now and then.
I don't.
Her mom. Her mom kind of got a little sick, and I have another daughter, Rachel, that she worked in a nursing home in Nicholasville. And she said Letha's mom was in the nursing home. And, of course, I don't think she's there now. I think they moved her. But, she just, the man she was married to, he died. So I hadn't seen her mother for years and years. So
I don't see her brother. I ought to see him.
I see him every now and then. I saw him at Walmart in Nicholasville one day. Just very rare every now and then to see him. Of course, he's got a wife and some kids of his own, and he lives, I don't know, in Nicholasville, I guess. But I don't ever see him. But everybody just kind of quit talking about her, and it was just like, sweet little Letha, beautiful child, just lovable, loved her to death. And, she's just gone, and nobody don't ever really know what happened. So.
Yeah, she loved my mom. I know she loved my mom, man. I mean, they were close, and, it was, always Aunt Beverly this and Aunt Beverly that, and, Aunt Beverly's my mama, and,
Now, did they end up having once they had found her, you said that they had done 2 autopsies on her. Is she, buried here locally, I guess, down near where home was?
It's in Lexington, at that cemetery in Lexington. What's the name of that cemetery?
I don't know. They're all buried there.
It's that one that's on for sales road.
I know, but I can't think of the name of it.
But
I mean, the whole family's buried there.
They're across from Cardinal Hill.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
So you all had her a service, and
yeah,
they had
after
a service.
they discovered her.
Of course, it was closed casket now. You can.
So I guess in closing, what would your all's hope be that there is obviously probably nobody's going to come forward. You wish they would, but it is a cold case. And I think David has spoken. I wasn't able to attend, but David had spoken to a couple of the detectives that are working that. So I guess ultimately your all's hope would be what?
Interview different people.
Yeah.
Talk to people that, that you haven't talked to yet. I've never been talked to. My mom's never been talked to. She's one of the last remaining adults, and there were adults at the time alive. There's a few others, but not many. But talk to, the people that saw her every day. Interview people you haven't interviewed yet, or reopen it and put the pieces together,
The people that was coming in and out of the house, you said there was a lot of people that would come and go. Makes me wonder if any of those people have ever been interviewed since they were coming and going from the house.
I think some of them were, but,
But they didn't ever get nowhere with them. It's just like, nobody knew nothing.
I think back then a lot of people were it was fear. They were afraid I think they had strong suspicions even back then, but I think they were afraid to
what
tell
would happen to them.
What would happen to them, yeah.
So maybe your hope would be years later. Now they're older. Maybe
they're not afraid anymore.
And they're not afraid.
But one of them that was there that probably could have told us everything, he's dead now too. One of the boys that was there.
Wow.
That 9 times out of 10 was probably a witness.
Mm-hmm. He's dead now too. So it's just hard to figure it all out.
Well, our hope also would be, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that we could assist in breaking this open for you all so the family has answers. I know it doesn't, unfortunately, bring Letha back, but it would be nice to at least get justice for her and answers for you all.
Yeah, because we never had closure with her. It's, early on we hoped that they would find out who did it and had to be, paid for their crime. But then after a while, it's just like, well, they're never going to find who did that. So.
Yeah, so you got about 32 years. But, she's been dead 32 years, and 32 years they've done what they wanted to.
So she's been dead longer than she lived. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you all, if you could speak to Letha today, what would you say to her?
I tell her I love her. I miss her. But if I could have done anything different back then, I would have. But I just didn't know how bad the situation was when she talked about how uncomfortable she had gotten. Just didn't seem to realize how bad it was. And like I say, I had a baby at that time that was 9 months old, and I was real busy with her, and I probably just didn't pay enough attention to Letha. But yeah, if I could talk to her now, I'd tell her I love her very much.
Patches?
I guess kind of the same thing, I love you. I'm sorry that, I didn't pick up on the, what you were trying to say without saying it. And I wish she would have been brave enough to tell my dad.
Because if she had told him that he might well have got to the bottom of things. Of course, like I say, he's dead now too. There's so many people that was there then that's not here anymore. But, he loved her like a daughter too, and she loved him. But I think the people that she was afraid of, she was afraid to get anybody else involved, afraid that it would be harmful for them. And I think that's why a lot of people that might have knew something wouldn't really say nothing because they feared for their own life. So.
Well, I hope that somehow, some way, we get some answers for you all and for Letha, and we really appreciate you all taking your time to speak with us. I know it's not ever easy to peel those layers off and reopen those wounds, but thank you so much, Beverly and Patches, for sharing Letha's story, and I hope somebody somewhere comes forward, or maybe a new interview, like you said, Patches, can take place and shed some light with these new detectives that have taken over, and hopefully we'll get some answers for your family.
I hope so.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
The Murder Police podcast is hosted by Wendy and David Lyons and was created to honor the lives of crime victims, so their names are never forgotten. It is produced, recorded, and edited by David Lyons. The Murder Police podcast can be found on your favorite Apple or Android podcast platform, as well as at murderpolicepodcast.com, where you will find show notes, transcripts, information about our presenters, and a link to the official Murder Police Podcast merch store, where you can purchase a huge variety of Murder Police Podcast swag. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is closed caption for those that are hearing impaired. Just search for the Murder Police Podcast and you will find us. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe for more and give us 5 stars and a written review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts. Make sure you set your player to automatically download new episodes so you get the new ones as soon as they drop. And please tell your friends. Lock it down, Judy.